Hi, and welcome to the Comfort Zone. I'm Sheryl Corriveau,
And I'm Paula Sullivan.
and today our guest is
Pamela Cereno.
awesome. So, I don't even know much of what you do except something really, really cool.
So let's just first say, so people know, you are from Plainville?
I live in
Plainville, Mass?
Plainville.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
And so let's talk about your businesses and then, but
Okay.
then we'll get into the real nitty gritty.
Okay. So I help people work with what they have, like an interior decorator, but it's more spiritual. So I help people work what they have and bring their unique personality out in their space. And kind of like clear the space and create like a sacred space for them. That's like my specialty. So I kind of awaken the space and the people. Like I help them, I show them different techniques. And so when I go to their home, I help them work with what they have. And then kind of like the room, I just look around. A lot of people have great things. And but sometimes they don't know how to place them properly. So the space isn't like breathing or kind of alive. It's just kind of,
Dance.
yeah.
So, so two things. One is when you say awaken, what do you really mean? What?
So, like I said, a lot of people have beautiful items. They're just not placed in the right way, and sometimes the home can get stale. And if cleaning it's a huge one thing
Yeah.
is big. You know how it
Yeah.
feels really good when it's clean,
Yeah.
but once the items are placed a certain way, it just kind of comes alive, and that's when I know I've like done my job well when the items.
So
come
you
alive.
can feel it. The homeowner can feel it.
Yeah,
And it's
usually when I go
energy,
to
right?
someone's
raises the
home, it
energy.
always looks really pretty, and then
Yes.
once I talk to the person and get a feel for the space, then I start going, okay, that can't breathe, and it just kind of speaks to me, and I just kind of start evolving from there, and just kind of let it unfold, and sometimes I'll work with the space and end up working with the person, with doing breath work and other things like that, but creating a sacred space. So.
Yeah, that was my other question. Have you always had a sense of, could you always feel energy?
I think so. Yeah.
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 Even
Ever
when
since
you
I
were
was little.
little, even when
Yeah,
you were
I'm
young,
very
you
sensitive and
knew?
creative, and
Yeah.
but I really started this kind of work in college when I was getting my interior design degree, and I was listening to Enya. Do you know that Irish singer? So at that time there wasn't a lot of AutoCAD. It was like all drafting. So hours and hours I would sit at my drafting table and I'd listen to Enya, and then I started bringing. And she's very spiritual. If you don't know who
Yeah.
she is, it's like very ether.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so every time like I would have a project, it would become spiritual, and I just kind of went from there. So, and after college, I worked in a model home industry where I learned how to stage and place things, and something like clicked, and I was always doing my spiritual work. On the side, I was always into the holistic arts. I was born in Ireland, in Belfast, so we're very Irish Catholic, and
Yeah.
my mom and dad, we moved here, and being Catholic was kind of like a pride there because you weren't allowed to even go to school. So my dad was the first generation allowed to go to college. So when we moved here, when I was 5, we went to mass, and I was Catholic, but my dad was a scientist, and so he was really open to the holistic arts, and he bought me my first astrology book when I was in 3rd grade. So I had like my rosary on one hand and my tarot and astrology book on the other, so it was like a nice balance. So I was always open to other religions, and I was never shut to anything. So anyway, so I worked in the model home industry, like I said, and then I was working on the side doing my own thing, doing the energy work for people's homes, and I started that a long time ago. And I decided to move away, and I moved to Seattle, Washington, and I got an AutoCAD job, which was not for me at all. It was
Wow.
like, oh gosh, it was torture. And then, so on the side, I started doing it was called spiritual design. And I started doing that. And I got laid off, which I didn't mind. And I had a couple of clients that kept me going. And then I decided to look for a job, and I landed a job in Japan. So I was
Wow.
able to go to Japan, and I worked there. But it's not like Tokyo, like fancy.
Yeah.
It was very like in the country, and they had hired me to bring like an American look. So they kind of
Wow.
weren't into like the Japanese beautiful
Wow.
architecture, it was more like neon lights. And when I looked at their color schemes were from like the 1970s, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I helped them put together the colors, and I showed them how to lay out furniture. And so the things that they had, like here, we would be like, oh gosh. But I helped them work with what they had, and that's just my specialty. And so I was able to do that. And there was a language barrier, but there was like a computer, and I really learned to really connect with women when I lived there. I loved it. And I learned a lot about energy there without words, because I couldn't speak very much because the language barrier. So I worked there, and then I came back to America because my father passed away, and I decided to with the Japanese company, I was able to travel through Europe and stuff.
Wow.
And then when I came back to America because of my father passing, what was I going to say?
You were coming back to America after
My father passing, and I decided to go to India, and I went to India for a few months and lived in an ashram, and I just kind of traveled, and so I would kind of, because I was single and free, I would just listen to the wind and go and just kind of land wherever. So I did that, and then I moved back, and I started working in doing the energy work, and it got a little intense for me. So I decided to do more art stuff. So I started to learn how to faux finish and do murals, and to kind of get grounded. And at the time, I didn't know what I was doing, but I just felt like I couldn't do the energy work because it gets really intense. It's not, because you and I we could be talking right here, but once I go into your home, everything kind of opens up, and it's not bad. It's just that we can hide outside of who we really are, but when you go to someone's home, it's so personal, and you really get to know the person, and it becomes, as for me, I'm very personable. I like to get to know people, and I want to help people, and especially create the sacred space and help them. So anyway, and I did that, and then I always wanted to live on the East Coast, so I was still on the West Coast at that time. And I got my car with my cat Trinity, and we drove across country, and I ended up living at the ashram in Millis. And then
my God, I've
from
been
there, yeah, you have?
Yeah.
So I lived there for a couple of years.
Wow.
And I got my teacher's training there, but I had been doing Kundalini, that's another
Now,
thing.
were you wearing the turban?
No,
Okay.
I've never, I wear, a head wrap
Yeah.
to protect my crown chakra, but I've never fit in anywhere. I'm me,
Do you always wear that, especially for that reason?
For this kind of work and for when I teach
Yes.
and I go to people's homes, yes, I do. Because it really, there's something about it. If, people can look at it and go, that's so weird. But when you do a lot of energy work and you do yoga and meditation, there's something about that. You protect your crown chakra. You keep the energy inside.
Would a wig be protecting my crown chakra?
Probably, yeah.
Does she owns
No,
a wig? She's
I know
starting a
that.
wig.
It's
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah.
All right. See, an added benefit.
No, it's something that really does. And so if you wear it and then you take it off, you're like, it really, you have to experience it.
Yes.
And that's really what
That's so
Kundalini is all about,
cool.
experience. And so is this kind of work.
I love
So,
Kundalini.
Me too.
Meditation.
It's helped
so
me so
powerful.
much. I know.
So powerful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really helped me a lot.
That's actually the music I listen to before I meditate to kind of get me there.
Sonatum Car and all.
Yes, yes.
Love them all. There's
my
so
God.
many. I've got,
I do
if
too.
only people even just wanted to hear, I have a list of songs
Oh,
that
yeah.
are just, it raises a high vibration
just
in your
you go-
home. If you play
yeah.
the mantras, they're ancient, and just by having them on, you can be in the worst mood and come home from the store and you're just like, oh, you're just like,
It
feels
changes
so,
your whole energy.
really does.
Your
But I have a
frequency.
question though about that, and I don't want to take you from your things, but one time you suggested to me one of the music, but for me, it was melancholy, and for me it brought my vibration down. I need upbeat.
There is upbeat. Yeah, and it's sometimes, which is really funny, it could have been where you were at that time, because I will listen to certain songs and I'm like, I cannot listen to this is
Yeah.
horrible.
True.
And then when I go through a different stage of my life, I put it on, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I hear it in a different way,
That's
and
true.
it feels different.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
turn that
But
off
I
if
do
it's
prefer-
melancholy.
but yeah, I do
Oh, I
prefer-
have one that's
I don't know
like
if I have
a lot of
energy.
dancing and
Yeah.
jumping, and
that's
it's like,
just kind of me naturally. Ever since I was a kid, I just had a lot of energy.
yeah.
Even though I can meditate, I mean, I can, focus, but I just prefer the upbeat stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to kind of, even though you prefer it, it's like for me, meditation, I like the loud, I like loud, but when I have to be quiet and silent, that's even harder for me. But that's when you can like really shift and change when you go out of your comfort zone, you know,
I do
and
like
go.
to meditate and
Yeah.
just get completely clear.
Yeah, and that's what
So I
the
can. It's not like I
mantras,
can't,
the
but-
mantras do. They really help you to do that because you would think it's so crazy, but after a while, it quiets the mind in a way.
Yeah.
Because you're replacing it with that mantra rather than all your
And after a while, you know all of what the song is, but
and
you
then
don't
you
even
can
know
really
what you're
get
saying.
into it. Yeah, yeah, and it doesn't
Sometimes.
matter because it's a feel of the vibration and how you feel.
It is.
It's really about how you feel. So,
It's so interesting that you couldn't speak in Japan, but you could read the energy. That must have been even like
you had
more
to.
impactful.
It was really draining.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, I was like, oh, but it really. I think I was there for a reason to learn all that. It was like, speak. You know, like when I went back. I felt very Japanese because that's all it was around me, you know,
Right,
and I
right.
didn't, there wasn't a lot of people that spoke English. So for over a year, I was pretty
Wow.
much, yeah.
What a training.
Now,
Yeah,
are
it was
you
great.
able to tell when you meet somebody? You just must get a feel of their energy, right? You can feel. Do you feel I
Sometimes,
like this
sure.
person? I don't
I'm
like
really
this person.
open-hearted, so that can get me in trouble sometimes. Like I'll trust everyone. I'll tell you everything. If you're willing to listen, I'll be like, oh. So I've really learned from my daughter, who is 7. She's just turning 7. She's, you have to work to be her friend, and so that kind of helps me. You know, I've learned from her to kind of rail back, and it's good to be open-hearted and kind, but you have to watch yourself.
Boundaries and limits.
Yeah, boundaries, and
Yeah.
learn that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I can see when something's off. Like everybody, we're all like the universe is changing. We're all feeling it. If you believe it or not, there's that thin layer, you know, of the other world, and we're feeling it, and we're all becoming more in tuned. And some of us, when we have a practice, kind of helps us through that ride, rather than numbing ourselves with alcohol, food, and so that's what Kundalini yoga really helps me do. You know, is really not numb myself, and it's not the easy because it's hard. It's hard work.
Right.
I get up every morning and do it, and if I don't, I'm really off, and it really helps me. It's not for everyone,
No.
but I recommend it to you know. You got to stick with it, and
Do you
got to do
teach?
it. I do. I teach,
Where do you
and I also
teach?
teach private lessons. What I do is I help people. I talk to them on the phone, see what they're going through, and then because there's thousands of different meditations and kriyas, which kriyas are exercise sets. So if you're struggling with depression or anxiety or prosperity or whatever you want, there's something for that. And then so I will talk to the person, find out what's going on with them, and then recommend a kriya, a meditation, even if they just want to stretch more, whatever it is, and have them do it. But you have to practice it, you know.
You must know Gabby Bernstein then. You know who she is.
No, I don't.
No. She's
Does
into
she
that.
look-
She's a teacher.
Oh,
and
she is.
Spiritual teacher, yeah. But so cool.
So yeah, well, Pamela, would you like to show us your?
Yeah, so I thought today, even though I've been talking, I thought today that I would create like an altar. And I really think it's so important nowadays to have a space where you can like dump your crap and just like kind of recharge your batteries. And so when I'm designing people's homes and helping them decorate, I like every part of the house to kind of come alive, you know. But so I wanted to show like an altar and kind of create an altar here. And I'm going to start. So I kind of chose this stuff just for the comfort zone, and I chose this.
Great.
Can I put it onto here, or is that gonna?
Yeah, I'll just hold them up and I'll put them back down.
So I like a nice tablecloth.
Well, that is a pretty
And
tablecloth.
I like to add things. I don't like it like matchy, so I like.
Mm.
I added this.
Pretty.
And I just, because, you know, everybody's different, and I just kind of, I went shopping and kind
We
of tuned
just
in.
have to make
and
sure
Now,
just-
do you
Stay out.
when you buy something, do you do any kind of energy work on it? Or
I
no?
do. Yeah, well,
You know, do you feel like you buy this out of the store, you take it out of the package? I mean, I would just take it out of the package, you know.
Yeah,
you're
I
out
do,
back,
and
but
especially when
would
I
you
give to
do you
people,
do
I
something
do-
ceremonial?
Yes, I do. I do my prayers and
To everything you buy, like every item, clothing.
yeah, even in my house, I
Yeah.
feel like everything has energy and a
Yeah.
spirit. And
Mm.
okay, so I know this is something personal for me, and you don't have to use. Sorry, I'm going. You don't have to use. But this is one of my favorite pictures. It's Mother Mary. Someone had given this to me, and I just So what I like to do is put her here in the front. And so what I recommend when you're doing a meditation and you have an altar is a mirror. Mirrors
yeah?
are so magical. And it's not about like looking at yourself. Let me clean that mirror. It's just something centering and grounding. I love mirrors. They're magical, and I like to meditate in front of them. That helps me with my posture, and it just does something magical. I love it. So
And who's that picture?
this is my beautiful family. So it doesn't have to be a deity, but I have deities all around my altars because I need a lot of help, especially with the energy work that I do. So I like to have them surrounding in my altar, and but you don't have to. But Mother Mary is my girl, and I go to her. And then this, I got this for only $10. This was like light wood, and I repainted it. And I added this. This came with it, but I thought this was really pretty.
Yeah.
And it's great to bring nature in. And what I also love about this is that it's wood and metal. Straighten her up. There you go. And I love blending things, so not everything's wood, metal. And I also found this for $3.50 at
With the rocks on it already?
well, this white rock was on it, and then
Yep.
I added this
Yep.
for the show.
Wow.
I thought this would be
Nice.
pretty,
Yeah.
and there's three that represents us three,
Oh, that's cool.
and then always have my candles. And I recommend when you're going shopping for a candle, unscented candles. And if you get the wick, put the wick on a piece of paper and see if black comes out. That's not a good candle. And I wouldn't get that candle.
Even without it lit, just at the store, you...
Yeah, rub it on a piece of paper and black comes off on the paper. It's not good. So, like like any of the scented candles, I'm not into any of
No.
that, so no. And then I have like sage that I like to use to. I always sage my space before.
What is sage?
So sage? I'll show it to you. Where can I put this?
Oh.
Where did I have this? I'm gonna put it over here. Sage is what the Native Americans used to clear space. And I don't use a lot of it. I just use, sometimes it comes in like this is a sage. You can smell it. And sometimes you only need like just a little bit.
Oh, that reminds me of church.
Yeah, that's where they got it all from. You know, the pagans and the...
I
So,
love
I
the
mean,
smell of
sage
it.
is a spice.
Smells so
I mean,
And it
good.
clears the
right?
space.
Sage,
Yeah.
sage is a spice?
No,
Is it a
I think
spice?
it's
No?
like a plant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I usually even just pick a little bit off before I tune in and kind of just clear my space because after I wake up I'm kind of like, especially if I don't feel like doing it, it really helps me kind of tune in.
Wow.
So then, and then I also have, these are my grandmother rosary beads. They're made out of jade,
Wow.
and these are like, if there was a fire, I would grab these.
Right.
Wow.
So I have my rosary beads, and I don't know if she's gonna fit, oh, and a little angel.
Oh, everything seems to be fitting perfectly.
So I like to bring like water in all the elements, fire, air, which this angel represents air,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's it, you know,
Wow.
and then you can create like, if you wanted to have a little ceremony, and you could go outside and just get some plants
Mm-hmm.
and start to put a little bowl with water here and just create like a really pretty,
Wow.
and this is just with like little weeds and
Isn't that amazing? This
Yeah.
altar?
Wow.
Wow.
you could play music going on or
Now-
no music, just
Do you I think you've talked about altars, right? Or
I
special
don't
things?
have that, but I have some things that, like, certain rocks from, like, certain things that remind me of
rocks.
certain things. And I do have that, and I do have a mirror that I made.
oh not
I made it at a mirror workshop with,
So
like,
you
all the
using it?
beads, all the stones on the outside that I had to glue. And then I have a wand that I made at a goddess retreat.
oh
And-
that's a, put it on the altar. There you go right there.
And
You
then-
getting some ideas?
Yes.
What's the wand like? Is it
I don't know what it's
Cinderella's
got
wand? Like,
it's got something inside that I wrote inside of it,
Yes.
and then on each end I think there's a crystal or something, and then
cool.
stones, and then
Yeah.
copper, and it's like a copper
That-
pipe that turned.
wow.
Are you using it, or where are you putting it?
It's like where I meditate.
Oh, so it is.
And I do have
That's
sage
nice.
there with like an
Do you
Babylonian
really? Yeah.
shell, and like I do that with the turkey
Yeah.
feather. I'm
What's a
revealing
turkey
all
feather?
my.
Is that, well, that's an ostrich feather, right? But
It's like a feather when you light the sage, right? And you put it, and you just sometimes you fan it
well,
around.
Yes, that's good. But there's a whole thing. I love peacock feathers because it represents Kuan Yin,
Oh, peacock.
the Mother Mary
Oh.
from China. There's a whole story.
That's
on
in the goddess book. I am a goddess. You are a goddess. Kuan Yin.
Kuan Yin.
They
Yeah,
talk
I
about
love
her.
Yeah, well, Mother Mary. And
Yes, they
yeah,
talk
it's all
about
that.
her, Kali, all the goddesses.
So yeah, and that's how simple it is to create the altar, and then I have my feng shui bells that clears the space. They're really
Wow.
nice.
With the noise? I mean, not the noise, but I mean with the.
I usually do this before I teach or go to people's homes. I do a whole, bless the
Wow.
space with
Wow.
these. They're very, I've had them forever.
I like the sound they make.
This is cool.
Wow. So if you go into someone's home, you will do this?
Yes.
Do you bring your own things, or you just?
No, because I have
No.
to get to know the person first.
That's right.
And it's really, like, a lot of the times when I go to their home, should I sit back over here? Should
Yeah,
I
I
sit
think
Yeah.
sitting back in the
when
chair.
when I go to their space, you have to get to know them, and a lot of it needs to be cleared out.
Right.
And
So do you have like a consultation, and then you?
yes,
Have a
usually I
plan
talk to someone on the phone, and I'll
Okay.
see if we're going to work together. And then if it's not like far away, I don't charge anything. I go to their space and see
Yeah.
how they are.
Yeah.
And I really don't charge anything until I start giving them advice.
Right. Right.
And I like to get things done instead of making a list. This is what you need to do. I'm like,
Yeah.
you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's
All
do
right.
it. There's no time. Let's do it.
Right.
So
Love it.
and I like to take the time because sometimes it's a lot of energy, even pieces of paper. I lived with this one girl and I learned real quickly. I didn't cook a lot at the time. It was a roommate. And anyway, she had paper. Like she would eat things and stuff them in the drawer, and no, but paper. It was very personable, and I went and I cleared out the whole kitchen, and it really, I learned you don't do that to people. You that's something, that was like she was eating, putting it in there, so all her feelings were coming out. So
Oh. What was
Yeah.
she eating?
it was anything.
And she put it in the paper?
She would put it in the drawer, like it was just full of stuff. But the thing is, I thought I was doing her a favor clearing it all out.
Yeah.
But it was like all her, whatever she was stuffing. And I don't mean to be
The
like, that's very
emotions were
private.
like-
But that's a kind of, like even a piece of paper. And so you have to be very,
Wow.
it's, but my favorite clients are the ones that are ready to rock and roll and like,
Yeah,
let's do it.
do it.
Yeah, but it's,
Wow.
it's like anything. You go through stuff and you
'Cause-
go through stuff when you learn and heal and
And you're energetically like connected to stuff in your home.
yes.
So you must have to.
all the energy and the
sage
feelings and yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I like when I go to the space when the people we just start moving things around and even just moving
Yeah.
a plant that can't breathe and stuff like that. I mean, it just makes a big difference.
I love it. It's
yeah.
like feng shui
And I love
in
working
a way.
with it is.
Yeah.
I've practiced. I was doing
Yeah.
feng shui way back then.
Yeah.
But I would say it's a Celtic way because then I kind of there's so many rules in feng shui that I was like,
Yes.
I don't like rules, and
Yes,
so
me
I would just
neither.
kind of do my own thing, and not only that, I tune in with the person in the space.
Mm.
So I always say I'll know when the space is done, like it starts to sing, and it really does to me. I can feel it, and it feels it's like my passion to help people.
I
do
would
that.
love you
I
to
am
see
blown
my
away.
space.
I am just blown away
God.
by
Right?
this stuff.
Oh
Yeah, I
my
love it.
God.
Wow, you know so much. You have
Well,
so much. But I mean, just it's amazing what you do and what you
you.
know and what you've been through.
Well,
You know what you've experienced and what you've learned and all the places you've gone and the
it's
energy.
been a
and-
good life. I can't
Yeah.
complain, and now I have my family here, and so
yeah.
it's a totally different chapter now.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Yeah.
But you embrace the chapters, it sounds like.
at times,
Yeah.
Kundalini really helps me embrace it.
Yes.
Because even this week I was having a really hard week, and
So
the
what is
energy
it?
was
What
tough.
is so? What is it that makes it hard? It's just because you have kids and they're busy and you're running around with the kids and you're trying to get your
I think
things done?
everything.
Is that what?
Yeah, I
is that
think
what the big
everything.
stress
Yeah, I was such a
is, or-
free spirit before,
Mm.
and it's just like I was, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just a different life, and
Yeah.
it is. It's not being selfish. It's thinking about other people, but it's not only that. It's the energy in the planet right now. It's so tough out there, and you know, being sensitive, like all of us, you feel it, and so. Even me keeping up with my practice, like I was saying just earlier, you know, I was going through stuff, and it was like I had to kind of rev up my practice, and I picked out a set, and I did it, and it was like I was a different person after 20 minutes.
Yep.
And it was just releasing, breathing harder, and, you know, just, so it works for me, you know, so, and clearing the space. That's challenging, is having kids and trying to clear the space, especially with my daughter. She's very, like, creative, and she likes to move everything around, and I'm like, oh, you know, when things are out, but it's like the control thing. I have to let go of that. You know, we're always working on our stuff.
Totally.
So,
Totally.
yeah.
It's a full-time job, I think, self-care.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I can tell when I need it. I shut down almost until I go get my nature walk in, or I work out, or whatever, meditate, journal, big journaler.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay, now I'm good. Now I'm good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You've got to learn that. Yes. Honoring yourself. And being a mom and being an entrepreneur and having all these different balls in the air, you really got to learn quick.
Yeah.
Because if you don't learn to take care of yourself and feel you're well,
and say no
you're
to
going to
things
sink.
that you really don't want to do.
I always say saying no is a saying yes, though.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
When you ever say you say no, you're really still saying yes to something else that
Yeah.
serves you.
And honoring
So true.
that part, you know.
Yeah.
Did you ever struggle with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always going through something.
Yeah.
I mean, with this kind of work, it's always just, my husband really, and my son, everybody, my husband really helps me stay grounded, because I'm like, but he really helps me be a better person, because we're so opposite, and he's so spiritual, like naturally, it's like, I have to kind of work at it in ways, you know, I'm very, you know, fiery, but he really, I think he brings out the best. I'm not the best all the time, because I don't like what he has to say to me, or like how I feel, but it's always right. You know, it's always stuff that it helps me so much. So I'm, you know.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. So being surrounded by people you love and that bring out the best in you, unconditional love, and that is the greatest thing in the world, because you see.
And I forget about that a lot of times. I have to like stop and like be really grateful and thankful, and that's we do. We forget.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
it's all a gift. It's all a gift.
Yeah.
You have 2 minutes.
So what do you? So you're so knowledgeable. You're so talented and
Thank you.
so much to give. What have you, you know, narrowed your focus down to now? It's the practice of going into the
Helping
spiritual
people work
design.
what they yeah.
Yeah.
And I call it devoted to design, because people were having a problem with spiritual design, even though my email address is spiritualdesigner@yahoo.com. I've always, and so now it's devoted to design.
Yeah.
So
I'm on Instagram.
So perfect, yes. So people could reach you on Instagram. What's
Facebook.
your Facebook?
Facebook, it's devoted to design.
Okay.
TO, but in Instagram it's number 2.
Okay.
For sacred reasons, and also for others, and also Ignite Your Inner Light with Kundalini Yoga on Facebook.
Okay.
And
Do you have a website?
No, I don't. And LinkedIn, I'm on Pamela Cereno. And what else? I think that's it. I try and kind of stay off of social media. You know, I have to do advertising and do my stuff. And it really is sometimes hard to take pictures of what I do, because you have to feel it in the energy. You know, it's like you have to experience it rather than, you know.
Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you for
with us.
having me.
And
I could go on. And
I know.
Ask you for another hour. But
I
I know, I thought when
all
we get to
these
some
things.
meditation, because the most important thing is after you do your altar, you got to charge it, and you got to use it, and you got to meditate, and that's the most important
Yes.
thing. That's what I forgot to say.
I
That's the
love
most important.
it.
I wanted to do like a meditation, but to ground, but maybe next time.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. Thank you.
Yes.
Well,
Until
thanks
next
for
time.
thanks for watching The Comfort Zone.